Yes, people, what's going on? Long time no see. Welcome to Emotion Football. My name is Alam, and today we got free agency to talk about. It's been a while. I skipped through the Super Bowl. I skipped through free agency. Um, for the most part, a lot of the coaching cycle. But I'm back. Inspired again. Lots to talk about today. We're going to talk about the NFC free agency that each team took part in. Look through the moves that they made. Great, real quick, we're gonna go team by team. Uh, I'm not gonna have a whole lot to say about like every team equally. We are gonna go through every team, but we're gonna like have our teams that we really get deep into our bag for, and we're gonna have teams that we just kind of just pass over. So if you're super passionate about any of these teams, if you really want us to focus on a team, put that in the chat. Make that clear. This is an interactive live stream. You are not just an audience member, you're a part of the show. And yeah, just people, this is also just free agency. The draft to me is the much more important part of the NFL offseason. This is just free agency. With that said, Murtaza, what are you saying, man? It's been a minute.
Yo, all good, all good. Hope everyone else is good. Hope you're good, Alam. It's been a minute.
For real, for real, for real. Yo, I see the icon. It was a different
You know what
quarterback
it is.
in that icon a while ago. We will get to that. We won't start there. Um, but yeah, yo, here's how I think we'll do it. I think we'll go team by team. We'll go
Mm-hmm.
just like alphabetical order and like the way the divisions are ordered. And yeah, we'll look at the additions, the losses, kind of where the team stands right now, and we'll go from there.
Let's do it.
Uh so I think the way that works out is the commanders are first. So I'll queue them up over here. But the thing about that team is like organizationally, I think they're in such a weird place. Um, like, so you got new owners, right? And I think whenever a team gets really rich new owners, there's potential for what could happen. There's potential for um, being able to be like ahead of the curve in what teams do. You could put together like a genius front office. You could do all these things, right? But I think that they've taken actually like an oddly traditional approach into their off season. So I got the moves up here, right? What I'm going to give them credit for, I think they did a good job of like first off season, you build like you raise your floor. I don't actually think they did a whole lot of like stuff that's going to blow their ceiling into a different category, but like a lot of these signings are going to keep them at a level of competence that I think they've like slid below in a lot of their years that I've been watching them. So you got a couple pass rushers from the Cowboys. You got a center from the Cowboys. So those are Dan Quinn's guys. You got Eckler, who's cool, like whatever. It's a running back. But you got offensive lineman from the Chiefs team. Um, who else they got? They got I like it. I really like the moves to get Chin and Luvu. But yeah, so this is the thing. Like I think they did a
Mm.
good job of raising their floor. They didn't do anything too crazy. I don't think these contracts are like long term things that are gonna um be impacting them for future off seasons. Like I just think this is a good safe off season. But the thing is like I don't think a good safe off season is what a team like the Commanders are looking for. Like I think they were looking for a statement offseason with everything that's new. But Dan Quinn is as a coach, like that's fine. Like that's passable. Like he's not gonna be a bad head coach. I just think we've been there, done that with him. Cliff Kingsbury, that's I think the only thing that you could say is like a positive risk in a way because he is your offensive coordinator. If he was the coach, I would have issues with it. But like all things considered, like I think it was a good, safe, solid offseason. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of their offseason also depends on who they take at quarterback. With their second overall pick,
Yeah.
and I think they should have made a decision before free agency, and because I mean, we all know Caleb Williams is going number one, so
Yeah.
the other two quarterbacks are Drake May and Jaden Daniels, and those are two completely different quarterbacks
Yep.
in terms of play style, age, everything, right?
Yep.
And obviously, Drake May is more of a project quarterback. He's going to need some time to develop, and then he's going to come into his own, and he's on the younger side.
Yeah.
While Daniels, he's gonna be 24, 25
Yeah.
by the time he starts in the NFL, which a lot of quarterbacks are at when they get their second contract, and
Yeah.
he's more NFL ready. He has thrown for a lot of yards. He's played 5 years of football, so
Yeah.
he is more ready. So you can pair him with a veteran roster and go from there.
Hmm.
This kind of offseason kind of indicates to me that they're going more that route with the
Yeah.
Daniels route, like having all these vets around him,
Yeah.
and which I'm not mad at. I think they have some good additions. A lot of these guys are either past their prime or like just
Like
like
just steady guys, bro. Like
yeah,
nothing
steady
crazy.
eddies.
Yep.
Not yeah, exactly. And but like you said, not to say too much of what you said is
Yeah.
with the new owners like Josh Harris, all that, like
Yeah.
you would have expected something like a big splash,
Yeah.
something like that. Also considering they had the most cap space out of all the teams in the thing, but
Yeah.
maybe they're taking, a more steady approach where they see where they are with the new rookie quarterback, and then next offseason is when they go crazy. So I'm not mad at the moves though. It's
Yeah.
definitely decent.
Yeah. It's nothing like to criticize. It's just like, oh, we could have done better. I look at it like if they had this offseason, but then they landed a premium young piece. So like let's say they did all these things and then added T. Higgins, right? Then it's like, okay, I really like what you're doing. Um, you again, you impacted your floor and your ceiling, and we go from here. But yeah, I just think they're missing that young piece, because I'll be real, I think, not that this is a bad thing, but I think most of these guys aren't here in the third year from now. So this year, next year, and I think for that year beyond that, I think all these guys are gone. So it's just one of those things, like you're gonna have your quarterback, so you're never really gonna need to be at the top of the draft anymore. But like this is what you like. It looks like this free agency period for them is gonna get them out of the top 10 picks, but it's not really gonna put them in the playoffs, I don't think. But that's the
hundred
Commanders.
percent.
That's the Commanders. We're gonna get to Dallas for the second team, and my thing with Dallas, right, is that this is such a weird offseason. Now, I think the all in, comma, my ass thing is the perfect, like,
Oh my god.
it's the perfect thing to like kind of just capture what this offseason's been about, which is just like confusion. Much like the all in, comma, my ass tweet. Why was all this necessary? Why did we come out and say that we're all in? Why are you guys putting yourselves in a horrible position with Dak, right? Because the point is, if Dak, let's say they're going to get rid of Dak, right? Then what they did to themselves is they played a season with Dak at 60 mil against the cap and basically just burned that season, right? If you're going to move on from Dak, you may as well do it now, right? And if you're going to keep Dak, you may as well sign him to a contract, lower the cap hit, and move forward, right? Like, regardless of what you do with Dak, not making a decision this summer basically just wastes this season, right? It just, to me, it screams indecision. It screams people not being on the same page. The kind of like lame duck place that they're in with Dak and with Mike McCarthy is just, it's really strange that they're buying into this. All especially during an off season where the whole thing was we're going all in. So I mean, just look at it, right? They lost three guys. They retained a long snapper and their defensive tackle, and they added a linebacker to replace Vander Esch, who retired. Right, like they lost Gallup. Um, they didn't lose a whole lot. They didn't really gain anything, frankly. They're probably just like, it looks like this offseason is going to be about the draft, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because to be honest, like I said, I started this stream off saying, to me, the NFL offseason is about the draft. That's really
Yep.
what defines teams' off seasons. But like, it's really, Dallas is leaning way too hard into it, and they have good drafts for what it's worth. They're a good drafting team. But bro, it's just like, I don't think you're gonna draft yourself out of the bullshit that you're in because of Dak's 60 mil cap hit. So because you haven't been able to make a decision on Dak one way or another, you're just punting this season. And it's an outrageous approach to take. But what do you think?
Bro, it's ridiculous. Like I don't they've literally done nothing to improve their team.
Yep.
They've arguably gone worse. I don't know
Yep.
who their running back is gonna be. They're
Oh,
just
bro,
it,
it's gonna be a
it's
rookie, right?
awful.
But this is the thing. Sorry, not why am I looking up commanders, right? So this is the thing, right? You're gonna use the draft to basically pull up your team to slightly better than last year. At best case scenario, right? Best case scenario, they're slightly more talented than last year, and they're slightly better, which we saw what happened to them last year. They're the first two seed to ever lose in the wild card round. But bro, right now they're running back Rico Dowdell and Deuce Vaughn, right? Deuce Vaughn's like 5'3". Bro,
It's not good.
the wide receiver two right now, like the same. The wide receiver room is the same without Gallup, right? The offensive line is the same without, I think, Tyron Smith and the center, right? So again, like you might
Hmm.
hit two picks to replace them both, and now after hitting with two picks, you're in the same spot as last year with the offensive line, right? Then you might hit in the draft to replace Pollard. So now you've hit three picks. It's actually hitting on three picks in a draft is a good outcome, right? That would just take you back to where you were last year in terms of talent. You have to basically smoke the draft, get every pick right to get to the a better version of where you were last year in terms of talent. And it's a ridiculous approach, man.
It's bullshit. And they're just like trending towards that era of mediocrity
Yeah,
because they're it's not like they're gonna have a lot of cap space in the future as well because you're gonna have to pay Dak or not pay him and then try and get another quarterback. You're
yeah,
gonna have to pay CD. You're gonna have to pay Micah Parsons.
yeah,
Like all of these things, take their toll. In a couple years, you're gonna have to pay Tyler Smith, and we've
yeah,
seen guards getting 5 year, 100 million, and that guy's arguably the best one.
yeah.
So it's just like
And yo,
their
even if
window
let's
was now, and they're ruining it. They're ruining Micah and CeeDee Lamb's rookie years. Like they
oh
just
yeah,
like did nothing.
yeah, yeah. And like let's say Tyler Smith kicks to left tackle to replace Tyron Smith, right? So now his contract just got even more expensive,
Even worse. Yep.
right? And like they're like CD Lamb and Michael Parsons are going to be market setting contracts. Market setting contracts are kind of what offset having your quarterback on a rookie deal. Not completely, right? But like let's say like honestly the best case scenario for Dallas next year is honestly the team just sucks. It's terrible. Dak has to go and McCarthy gets fired, and you have a top pick and you have the ability to bring in a new coach, right? But it's not like you're building from ground zero, like let's say the Bears or even the Commanders are. Like you're gonna have to pay Micah astronomical money. You're gonna have to pay CD astronomical money. Same thing with Tyler Smith. That's gonna kind of eat away at the benefit of having a quarterback on a rookie deal. So like let's take the Bears for example. To off like in my head, the only like top of the market deals I could say you guys have are Jalen Johnson and Tremaine Edmonds. I think there's just two.
Wait, could you repeat that? Sorry.
Like yo, the Bears, right? I think they have two like top market contracts on their team: Jalen Johnson and Tremaine Edmonds. Because DJ
Yep.
Moore is on the
And
pretty good deal. What that?
Montez.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. See, so you guys have three, right? Dallas is gonna have to hand out three right now,
Yep.
bro. It's tough. But even
It's
Montez, yo, what is
tough.
Montez getting?
He's actually making decent money. Let's see. Contract.
Because
4 year, 98 million.
so yo, what that's 24 and a half.
Four. Yeah,
Because what
exactly.
is Bosa getting? I think Bosa is touching 30, right?
He is 5 year, 170. So 170 divided by 5 is 34. Yep,
Oh,
it's
bro.
10
So see
million
that,
cheaper.
bro. That's top of the market. Then Montez isn't actually top of the market.
Yeah, it's not.
It's like or top or close, right? So he's not. It's Jalen Johnson and Edmonds, right?
Even Jalen
Commanders.
isn't. Jalen is seventh
He's seventh, but
in
like how far
yeah.
off is he from the top? Like it's closer,
So
right?
yeah, top of the market is like 25 million. Jalen's like 18.
even then that's not either. So that's the thing, right? Like a lot of these teams that get quarterbacks on rookie deals, they don't have a salary cap filled with premium contracts the way
Yep.
Dallas would, even if they bottom out and end up getting an opportunity at getting a quarterback. So again, like for me, the total all like flaws go back to the same point, which is you just have to make a decision on Dak. Stay or go, you have to make a decision. And because you don't want to, you're just punting away this season. But
Yeah,
we'll
that's
wrap it up
them.
with Dallas there, and we'll take it to the next team in the NFC East, which is, my
Philly.
favorite team. Dan, how's there so many Eagles things? Where can we just get to the Eagles? There we go. So we got Philly, right? And I think this is a pretty fascinating offseason. I think this is the offseason that okay, so the Howie Roseman experience involves ups and downs, right? And I think this year, basically, we got the overcorrection to the flaws with last year's offseason. Last year, we were really cheap with the running back room. We were really cheap with safeties. We were really cheap with linebackers. Aside from the running back room, every single decision there ended up harming our season. And like the thing about the running back room is, and I'll talk about it when we talk about Saquon, is that we still ultimately didn't have a great running game last year, and it's not because of the running backs, but there were some flaws with the room as a whole. What we did this offseason is it looks like we put a lot of money into making sure that we can draft by best player available. And this is really where I think the draft is going to be what actually dictates how our offseason goes, because like I'm looking at the team, there's no one spot on the roster where it's like you have to pick somebody. There's some spots where you should, right? Like you should pick corner. You should
I
pick
think there's
a
yeah, I
linebacker.
think corners for
See, the
sure.
thing is, like, I think with corner, like, I look at Slay, I thought was fine. I thought Bradbury was a disaster, right? And I think the slot corner thing is empty right now. But like, I don't think Ringo was that bad last year, especially considering he's 21. But I just look at it like, bro, like, even if worst case scenario, let's say we get great tackle value, right? We get great what else? We get, I don't know, some it's crazy. Some receiver is there at 50 or whatever, right? I
Yep.
feel like we can still make one move in the secondary and still be fine. Um, so I just
Yeah,
look at
for
it
sure.
like we're not pressed. We can go BPA in the draft. We have a first round pick, 2 seconds. We traded back out of our third round pick, which is whatever. But like we have excess draft capital as a pretty talented team. We should be able to use those draft picks to get even better. Um, I think we're gonna have to go inside interior offensive line for some depth. We're gonna have to go corner. Um, we should go linebacker, but the signings seem. I feel like we won't. But yeah, I think the thing with what Philly did is like we're gonna have a team that it just like the coaches have to hit. I don't think Kellen Moore has any excuses, honestly. Even if the
Oh yeah.
interior of the offensive line isn't the best, bro, you have too much. Like you have so much talent across the board. Not only talent, but you have a team that is going to be motivated because they had a crazy collapse. Vic Fangio on the defense, like, bro, we had good pass rushers, right? 2 years ago. Last year, did they perform to the same standard? No. Still good pass rushers. And then we were trying to get even better. Like you probably won't be in a situation as bad as you were with Miami. Um the secondary, honestly, again, Miami's whole roster got depleted by injuries last year. We're probably not going to be that bad on paper. Vic Fangio has to he has to have a good year coaching. So, man, it's really a thing where there's no excuses. Again, the draft will really tie it together with Howie Roseman. You never really know what you're gonna get. We have some good drafts sometimes, we have some bad drafts, but like the end all is that I think last year a part of what went wrong is we were banking on talent that was past it, right? People who were on the downsides of their careers. And the thing is, I think next year is gonna be in a lot of ways about young talent stepping up. So Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, some of the rookies we draft this year, potentially a Sidney Brown. There's a bunch of players where it's like they have to step into their roles and really make the most of it. Um, in a way, I think with the NFL, like it's good to have fresh faces and it's good to be different. I think in the NFL, it's bad to be the same team for an extended period of time because people get used to things. And I think Philadelphia needed fresh blood, and we got some. I really, really like the Bryce Huff signing. Um, Regardless of whether it works or not, I love the Saquon signing.
Yep.
CJGJ, that's somebody like my thing is like that signing could bust, but I still think like at worst it'll be a fine signing. Like it won't be because the contract doesn't actually have that much guaranteed money. It's like 10 mil guaranteed. We're probably gonna be fine. Devin White, I'll be real. I'm not sure that guy's good at football, right? But we're gonna see. He's a crazy athlete. Um, I'm hoping Vic Fangio can coach that up. But bro, I'm actually really looking forward to the draft because, like I said, right, I've seen a lot of off seasons that the Eagles have had where it looks good on paper and it falls apart, right? It happens a lot. And to be completely honest, the Saquon Barkley signing, specifically the way that signing went, that signing tends to never work for us. But like
Yep.
that's why I'm not even like that caught up with what we did in free agency. For me, if we can get some depth on the offensive line in the draft, if we can get a corner, um if we can get a receiver, because I feel like that's in order. Like that's really what's going to excite me for the next year. And again, it's not common for a team as good as the Eagles to have 2 second round picks, and like it's not common for teams like this to have excess draft capital. So, man, I'm excited. I think like I said, how we saw what he did, the mistakes he made last year. A lot of the times when he has a really good offseason, we end up being really good. So we'll see if he caps this offseason off with a good draft, we might be a really good team next year.
100%. I think the main problem you guys had last year was coaching. Like
Yep.
the defense was not good. You had changes with Matt Patricia, Sean Desai. It just didn't work out. And
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is it's a continuity and scheme.
Yeah.
And but you're actually instead of his one of his disciples, you're getting the Godfather himself, Vic
So
Fangio.
we were
So
supposed to get him last year, man. Fuck Arizona.
yeah, like so, that's what that is. And I really like the signings. I think it sets you up well and fills all the holes in your roster.
Yeah.
But the only one missing is corner, and I think where your guys' pick is, I think there is one that should fall to you guys easily. I
Yeah.
think with how the draft will play out and how since it's such an offensive heavy draft, there are some good corners. Like there's the kid from Iowa, Cooper,
Yeah.
DeJean,
Yeah.
Quinyon Mitchell, Tyrion Arnold, Kool Aid, Nate Wiggins. Like one, if you get one of those guys, you'll be solid.
If we get the right one, because like two of them are probably gonna end up being shit. But if we get the guy that's good, it's on. And like we'll get more into draft stuff, but I look at it like the way the team is right now, we probably are gonna want a guy that has inside out versatility. So for me, that's Terrion Arnold and Cooper.
Oh yeah, Cooper DeJean. Yep, that's a
So
white corner,
and
man.
so this is the thing, right? If we get Cooper and CJGJ, it feels like CJGJ and Branch all over again. And I saw how that was last year for the few games that CJGJ did play. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm quickly gonna touch on the coaching stuff because I think what you said about the coaching was super accurate. My thing about the coaching staff is like I like Fangio, right? At present, I like the Fangio hire. I just look at it like, yo, the Chiefs have had so much success against Fangio defenses over the years, and they have success against everybody. So that's not like a crazy indictment, but like I just look at it like, bro, at the end of the day, if we get back to that point of being in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, what do we present the Chiefs? A defense that they faced twice a year against Denver, that they did numbers against then they put numbers up against Miami in the playoffs. Like this is just a scheme that they know really, really well. So that part of it is kind of like yeah, it's good, but it's not just we don't just need good. Like we need can compete in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs because bro, ultimately like we couldn't beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last time because second half of the game we couldn't get one stop. So like
Yeah,
that part of it, like that's the thing that needs to get fixed. And I'll be real, as good as Vic is, I could see the same thing happening again. So that's just like that's my thing about the Fangio hire. And then about Kellen Moore, I think Kellen Moore, the reason I'm optimistic is because he's young. And I think there's a certain amount of growth that can only happen through experience. And I believe I understand and I believe in the fact that he's highly rated for a reason, but the results haven't really matched up to the ratings yet, right? And I think that a part of what could happen is through experience you get better, because I've seen Andy Reid get better through experience, right? I've seen Kyle Shanahan get better through experience, and honestly at some point there still probably is a need to get even better. If Kellen Moore
mhm.
gets better, and if we see the best Kellen Moore that's happened yet in Philadelphia, then we're in a good spot, right? But if he doesn't get better at all and he doesn't grow at all, I actually don't know how good he'll be.
It'll be
Like,
interesting with
yeah,
him for sure because I do think he was scapegoated out of Dallas. I
I
think it
agree.
wasn't his fault that Dak threw all those picks and shat the bed
Yeah,
in the playoffs. The
yeah.
Chargers were just in an awful situation. They had a horrible defense,
Injuries,
was overpaid,
injuries.
everything. Brandon Staley, everything. Yeah. So
No,
now
so
he
that's the
finds
thing.
himself in Philly, and
Yeah.
I think he could do good there. It's just like I know he has it in him. It's just about whether he actually goes through with it or not.
Yo, I think a really big thing is if if our offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland, if he got it right with those two, the center and the right guard, in terms of the prospects that we drafted, if he got those right and we have a good line, like a really good line next year, bro, a good line with Saquon and our receivers on the outside, and bro, like it's it's going to be something where like if you fail as an offensive coordinator, like this is something that should stick with your career forever.
Oh yeah, for sure. He has to like he has to do good. And
Yo, you
if you
must.
guys you could add another really good receiver because this receiver class is hands down for me the best class ever, most deep class ever.
Yeah.
In the second round, you can find a really, really, really good piece.
Yo, here's the thing, right? You inevitably are going to have to draft a receiver to have um when you can't afford to pay AJ and Devontae, right? It may as well be now. When are you going to get a better chance to draft a receiver than the situation that's going to be in the second round this year, right? It'll, even if you decide we're going to take a first receiver in the first round, like next year or the year after, one, there's a very real chance the caliber of prospect you're taking at that point is similar to the caliber of prospect you're taking in the second round this year. And then the other side of the coin is like, when have the Eagles ever been good at drafting receivers? So like, bro, you're in a situation where it would be hard to draft a bad receiver in the fifth round. Sorry, in the second round. Like, just do it.
100%, 100%. I'm with you, man.
So
I really hope they could get it. It would be really fun.
because I look at it like this, right? To me, when I saw that they signed Devontae Parker, I'm like, that's the Julio Jones replacement. He's coming in to play for the minimum. That's just a
Hmm.
big receiver to literally do the Julio shit in the offense. Because all Julio did was block and catch red zone targets. To just like go up against smaller defenders, right? That's Devontae Parker. But we actually haven't replaced whatever the role is for Olamide Zaccheaus and Quez Watkins. That role is completely empty, which is my sign that they're going to draft a guy. My whole thing is just like, don't push it till because we don't have a third round pick anymore. Don't push it till the fourth. Second round, pick 50 and 53, you can get a crazy receiver. Um, but yeah, we're gonna keep it pushing. That's Philly. The next team, last team in the NFC East is the Giants. Um, so here's the thing about the Giants, right? I think with the Giants, the Brian Burns move is the move. If you look at the rest of their offseason, like what so Saquon to Devin Singletary is a downgrade. Um, you added John Runyon and Jermaine. I'm not even gonna pretend to say or like pretend to know how to say that last name, but like you added those two guys. I think they're like they're not going to come in and make your offensive line good all of a sudden. Your offensive line got your quarterback killed last year. Again, like they might make your offensive line not as bad, but they're not going to make them good, right? Drew Lock is your backup quarterback that might have to play because who knows when Daniel Jones will be healthy. Isaiah McKenzie, the hilarious thing is like, I swear they have already a bunch of Isaiah McKenzies. Like, am I tripping? Bro, they have Jalen Hyatt, Wandell Robinson.
Slayton.
Bro, like specifically Hyatt and Wandell. Those are like, those are Isaiah McKenzie ass receivers. So like, you got Brian Burns, right? And I think Brian Burns is an awesome signing or an awesome trade. But the thing is like, you needed to get Brian Burns to get up to like a normal level of pass rush. Because I don't know if you know this or everybody knows this, but like last year, their edge rushers, Thibodeau and Ojulari, they had the lowest two like pass rush win rates of pass rushers in the league. So in terms of just percentage of times you beat your man, they had literally the two worst starters. So like, you needed this guy so badly. Now you got him, and now guess what? You're just the NFL standard pass rush now. So like, bro, this offseason was a disaster for this team. Like
Yeah.
they're in a situation with the quarterbacks where they have DeVito and Drew Lock. Daniel Jones is probably not going to be healthy. And the thing is I was reading up on the Daniel Jones situation. He has a 23 mil injury guarantee for 2025. So the thing is, if you're the Giants, if you want to get rid of Daniel Jones, you can do it at the end of the year. But if he gets hurt, then you can't do it at the end of the year. You have to do it like either 2 years down the road, or you have to eat 23 mil against the cap for no reason. So like, my thing is you probably aren't going to be playing Daniel Jones from a financial, like strictly because of finances. So you're going to be playing Drew Lock. You got Devin Singletary in the backfield now. Like, bro, this looks like the year that gets coaches fired. Like, Brian Daboll is probably not going to see the next year after this.
100%. I think, especially with the quarterback situation, they're screwed.
Yeah.
I think they lost a big piece in McKinney. He was a really good safety.
Yeah.
And if Thibodeau works out, I think they can have a pretty good pass rush. But it's just if he works out really, because you already have Dexter Lawrence, you have Burns, and now you have Thibodeau, two guys like 25 and under, young, really good. So that would be interesting. But it's really the offense, like their offense stinks. And it has stunk for a while. So they're either going quarterback or receiver with their first two picks. And like just paying Daniel Jones has set this franchise back so many years. Like we all knew it was a bad move. They probably knew it was a bad move, and they just did it. And they let go of Saquon Barkley just because they paid Daniel Jones, just because of that. And and now they're gonna have to suffer the consequences for the next couple of years.
But you know what a similar move looks like? Like if they take a quarterback at 6, I feel like it's going to be a similar move of like, you know that this isn't the best thing that you could do, but you kind of have to out of circumstance. If they end up with a McCarthy at 6 or anybody else you take at 6, I don't think there's a quarterback pick you can justify at 6. So like, it's not even like again, like your best case scenario is actually you don't take a quarterback again. You're really bad next year. Your coach gets fired, and you can pick a quarterback next year, right? Like this is the off season. Like when you have an off season that puts you in that situation where that's your best case scenario as a franchise, you had a shit off season. Like your best hope long term can't be, hey, hopefully we're really bad next year.
And even though, bro, if you look at next year's draft, the quarterbacks suck. Like
what is it? It's Ewers and Shedeur?
Apart from Shedeur, that's it. So is in your estimation, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, and maybe Jaden Daniels, if the rumors are true that he's gonna fall, like, or the Giants are gonna trade up. If any of those guys you know, better than Shedeur, like then you just gotta think about that as well.
The question becomes, can you be the worst team in the league to get Shedeur? Because like if Shedeur is the only guy next year, he's going 1 overall.
Yep.
So can you get to one overall? And then if you can't, now again you're in a situation where you have to trade up. So that comes with its own pitfalls. Um, but yeah, man, really, really
Yeah.
terrible off season. But we can keep it pushing. We don't need to give them too much attention. The next team in
Uh-huh.
order is the Chicago Bears. So I'll say it like this with Chicago. Quietly, I think they have like they're approaching having a team where there's really not like that many holes. So if we're I'm gonna start with the depth chart before I even go to the moves because I think they've done a nice job. If you look at the receiving core, right, you need one more receiver. If you look at the offensive line, I think you need one offensive lineman. Um, because I think right now
Yep. A center.
it's yeah, it's putting Coleman, Shelton, and Ryan Bates, but I don't think those guys are starters. I think those guys are quality depth, right? And then like
Yep.
my question is, yo, I think you mentioned last year. I forget if you said this or Nate Davis playing center.
No, no, no. Yeah, that's not.
So that's not a thing,
He
right?
yeah,
Okay,
that's not
there's nobody else that could play center,
not on this team, no.
not on the team. Okay, that's fine.
I mean,
So like,
Bates is the only guy that's plays center, and according to like Bears insiders, like they've brought him in to compete for that center position.
yeah. All right, then. So then you got two spots on offense, right? Then defensively, um, if you're looking up front, you're probably looking at one edge rusher, one defensive tackle if you want to upgrade Billings. But like, yeah, you should probably upgrade Billings, but you don't have to. Also, is Zach Pickens, does he look ready to play?
Nope.
Okay, so then you need probably two guys in the front seven because TJ Edwards and Edmonds are going to hold down the linebacker spots. And then in the secondary, right, you got all your guys for now, considering Byard is the guy they signed. You could go safety and you could go long-term Byard like replacement. So you could probably go safety in like round 3 and get somebody to play as a backup this year. But basically you have 4 spots because we're just slotting in Caleb at 1. You have 4 spots that you have to figure out, and the Bears have what? Another. They have 9th overall, and then how many second round picks do they have?
No. So we have 4 picks in
Yeah.
this year's draft currently. That's it.
Oh, just say word. Oh, yo, would you guys trade down from 9?
That's the thing. So all the talk and the smoke has
Yeah.
been if either of Neighbors and Odunze is available at 9, they're picking. If they're not, they're trading out of there.
Okay. So then, like, assuming that you get Caleb and let's say receiver at 9, right? Then you have 3 spots that you have to figure out, and you have um a really complete roster aside from that. Now I think again, like ultimately when it comes to the coaching that the Bears have, right? I believe in the defensive coaching. And then the offensive coaching we'll see. With Shane Waldron, I think it'll work out. I think I kind of believe in him enough to get past some of my disappointments with the Seahawks offense last year because ultimately like Geno Smith taking a step back is something like you can't really do a whole lot about. So I do think things will be good for the Bears this year from a coaching standpoint, and like they have a pretty complete team. Like the thing about bad teams is a lot of the times when bad teams start to get good, they'll get either young talent in the draft or they'll get like slept on talent. Like they'll take a guy who was a backup and make him a starter on another team. You tend not to see a team like the Bears all of a sudden have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Like those two guys are established veteran, like top tier receivers, right? You don't tend to see a team like this all of a sudden just have 2 of those guys. You tend not to see quarterbacks go number 1 overall and then get to throw to these kind of players. So I think if the Bears are pretty good next year and it catches people by surprise, that'll be it. Because people just aren't used to seeing teams all of a sudden fall into this kind of established talent. DeAndre Swift is established, right? Top 5 in rushing last year. Montez Sweat, an established player. Like the Bears have quietly assembled not just good players, right? But like they're not banking on players getting better or banking on players that have shown flashes to get in to have a bigger role. Like they're actually just asking people to do what they've done already in the NFL. So yeah, I think I actually didn't know they only had 4 picks. That makes draft night pretty interesting. But yeah, I think you guys uh are just not that far off from being a pretty solid team.
bro, like the thing is, what most people don't consider is we're a 7-10 team that
Yeah.
has a number one overall pick.
Yeah.
That's almost never ever happened. And
Yeah.
we're a 7-10 team that really should have been a 10-7 team
Yeah.
because three of those losses, we were at a 99% chance of winning at
Yeah.
a point in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So historic blowout, like historic bottle jobs, like with
Yeah.
those three games, right?
Right.
And on top of that, in the second half of the season, we were ranked the number one defense in the NFL after we
Yeah.
traded for Montez Sweat. That got Jervon Dexter to come around. The secondary was awesome. We just paid Jalen Johnson. It's another year of Tyreek Stevenson. He's another year older.
Hmm.
Jaquan Brisker, and Kyler Gordon. So, and we've continued with the defensive staff. So, I think we'll for sure have a top 10 defense, if not a top 5,
Yeah.
considering further additions to the defensive line. Because I think that's the only thing. I
Yep.
think Billings is good because he's a really good run stopper, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But for pass rushers, that's why we need that. And going to the offense, you have a Pro Bowl caliber tight end in Cole Kmet. You added another backup tight end in Gerald Everett, who
Yep.
can run the two tight end set that Waldron loves to run. You
Right.
have two Pro Bowl and arguably all pro receivers in DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, and you could potentially add another one
Yeah.
with the ninth overall pick. And
Hmm.
you have already a good offensive line. All it's missing is a center, and they're like an above average good offensive line. It's not great, but it's still
Yeah.
pretty good.
Hmm.
I mean, that's almost a perfect situation for a young quarterback, especially like the quarterback that's touted as the greatest college player ever to
Hmm.
walk into. And we can have success right away. If
Oh yeah.
if Caleb Williams is what people say he is, and what I think he is and what he can be, bro,
Hmm.
you have no like, bro, we'll be completely fine, and we will go. We it'll be Houston Texans here, legit, even possibly better because the NFC is worse, and
Yeah.
the Bears are in a better position and a better team with more weapons on offense and defense than the
Bro,
Texans at.
and they don't have a rookie head coach or rookie offensive coordinator, right? It's just the quarterback. Um,
Yep.
and then I think the important thing there is like when when people talk about like, okay, being a good prospect doesn't guarantee being a good player, right? Um, the thing is like the ways that good prospects get wasted are having bad teammates and bad coaches, right? And we can already establish clearly that it's not going to be his teammates that mess him up. And we can say with pretty decent certainty that Shane Waldron's not going to be the problem. Like, who knows? Maybe he's not that good, right? But there's a pretty good chance that's not the case. So, like, yeah, it's gonna fall on his shoulders, and I feel pretty confident that he's not gonna mess it up for himself. Like, I think he's gonna be that guy. So, yeah, it's a good thing, and that's why it's like again the Keenan Allen move. Like, it's just safeguarding any bullshit from affecting your young quarterback. Like, yo, Keenan Allen is like, it's not just that he's good; he's also like a safety blanket for a quarterback.
Bro, 100%. Like,
So I'm
and
gonna get
it's,
open 7 to 10 yards down the field, nice and
bro,
easy throws.
easy. And if we take a wide receiver, and
Yeah,
especially if we take Rome Odunze, the
yeah,
two people, funny enough, which is hilarious,
yeah,
he's been compared to the most is DJ Moore, Keenan Allen.
yeah,
That's it. He's bigger, DJ Moore. He's faster, Keenan Allen. That's
yeah,
all people have been saying about him. And who
yeah,
better to learn off than him? And if we don't get him, and if we go Malik Neighbors, I think that's the perfect wide receiver room.
yeah,
Because you have the short game of Keenan Allen,
yeah,
DJ Moore running the intermediate, and
yeah,
Malik Neighbors just running past everybody.
yeah,
Like
100%.
it would be an awesome wide receiver room. I think the Bears offense, for the first time maybe ever, is going to be really exciting on all cylinders because we were an exciting offense 2022 with Fields, but
Yeah,
it was just with him running the ball. I think I'm really excited for this draft. Really excited for next season. It's been a pretty good offseason. And with one person we haven't talked about is DeAndre Swift.
yeah,
I think he could really take his game to the next level because with an offense like that, it can really allow him to shine because Waldron's not afraid to run the ball. And you
Yeah,
have big, strong, and because we also had the second best running team in the NFL, only behind the
yeah,
Ravens.
yep.
So you pound the Rockets, a rookie quarterback, early in games, late in games, you give it to him to take the pressure off defenses, bro. It could really be something for him as well. And I'm just really excited, and I love the fact that we let go of Justin Jones and Darnell Mooney because, bro, Mooney was on a really bad downslope, like really bad. I don't know how the Falcons paid
Bro,
him
one of the
13
worst
mil.
contracts. One of the worst
I don't
contracts.
know how they did that. And Justin Jones, we overpaid for him. I get it; it was in rebuilding phase 2 years ago, but glad he's off the team as well.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Um, well, getting on to some of the other NFC North teams. We'll go with the Lions next. Uh, so I think the Lions is something I'm gonna like keep it quick with. I like the DJ Reader edition. Carlton Davis is cool. Marcus Davenport is cool. My thing with Detroit is just like I feel like they've built their team from the draft. And then if you look at the history of Brad Holmes was the director of college scouting for the Rams. So like that Rams team that was built off of like you had the likes of Cooper Cup and Aaron Donald and um, even for a bit Jared Goff being the fact that he was their quarterback, but a lot of homegrown developed draft picks. And I look at the Detroit team, a lot of their main foundation is also drafted players. So I just feel like again with Detroit, we're gonna see what they do in the draft. That's the big part of their offseason.
Yep.
But I still look at their secondary, right? Like I still think there's two holes, and I think their secondary was pretty. It was like the weak point of their team last year. DJ Reader is good, but I don't think that they have a pass rushing presence from the interior of their defensive line. Because I actually like Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader, but I don't know if you're going to get a lot of push in terms of rushing the quarterback from those two.
Hmm.
And then Davenport is like, I'm pretty sure he's a super injury risk.
Yeah,
So like
he's not good either.
so yo like I don't think this is all that great. I don't necessarily think that this is the again this is what the emphasis is for Detroit's offseason. Like we'll see what they do in the draft. I think it's a pretty incomplete thing for me. I think if you're going to say anything, it's the fact that they lost Jonah Jackson, so they lost a starter, and I think they replaced him with Kevin Zeitler today. But even that, like that's cool. Like at the end of the day, like I don't think they really made any major moves with their free agents. It's all going to be about the draft.
100%. Nothing more to add on that. We'll just see what they do in the draft because
Yeah,
they
bro.
still
Like
have
again,
holes in their team.
your team is built off the players you drafted. Your GM is a director of college scouting. Like that's his bag, bro. We'll
Yep.
see. They kept their coaches, good for them, but we'll see what
That
they
was
do.
surprising. That
That was
was
surprising, and
surprising.
that's really good. But like, it just kicks the can. Like, hopefully, they're developing an offensive coordinator. Um, but we'll see what happens, bro. Like, otherwise, it's just looking like they're gonna be a similar team to last year. Which I'll talk about it with another team that comes up. I have a point to make about being a similar team than you were last year. But
Yep.
we'll go to the Packers now, who um. Okay, let me just see like the whole of their offseason because I think signing Josh Jacobs is so funny for the Packers, bro, because I feel like
Bro.
stylistically they just signed that halfway point between Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
Yep.
Like it's just I feel like that signing is so easy to understand in terms of how it happens. It's like Gutekunst was just watching the team and he's like, yo, it'd be sick to have both running backs on the field at the same time. And that's kind of just what they managed to achieve with Jacobs. Um again, even with Saquon, like I'm a bit skeptical of giving a running back a big deal after their rookie deal, right? But the thing with Saquon is like oddly enough, injuries have kind of kept him off the field. I feel like Josh Jacobs has been playing, he's played a shit ton of football, right? And sure, whatever. No big deal. Just make sure you get a good backup. But like the backup is AJ Dillon. So like if Josh Jacobs is healthy, awesome. But like I don't know. That doesn't leave me thrilled. That being said, in terms of their offense as a whole, like they don't need to make receiver moves. They need their young receivers to just get better. Um, their offensive line, I think, was fine. But I feel like, let me see. I think they had a lot of young players there as well. They lost Runyon, but
Yeah, they had like young players on the offensive line. They were like the youngest team in the NFL.
by far, yeah. So you look, there's literally, oh shit. Oh yeah, Bakhtiari's gone. They actually do, well. He didn't play much. He was hurt, right? Yo,
Yep.
even their offensive line was mainly draft picks from 21 and 22. So yeah, offensively, yo, they just need their young players to get better. They got a running back that like he'll be good if he's healthy, but again, like this is paying a running back after the rookie deal just tends not. That's a low percentage move. Defensively, I think they had good pieces in terms of just like their foundation. I think Xavier McKinney is an important um, move to make. But I think the big thing about that defense is their defensive coordinator was apparently really, really bad last year. Like that's all Packers fans ever said. And I think they hired a guy out of college. So that's a pretty big wild card.
Yep.
Hiring a coach that has that much control and that much power just out of high school, or sorry, out of college, something that could go pretty wrong. But I think as a whole, like this was a team that I don't. It's so young, so it doesn't even make sense to just like add big pieces to get in the way of your young talent. See what they do, see how they develop, save your money, and then make moves at that point, which I think they did for the most part. So, like, I can't really hate. I just don't really think they moved the needle too much with their roster. And to be fair, that's not really something that's not what would move the needle. What would move the needle is their young players developing and getting better. The two guys they added are good players, but we'll see what happens. Like, growth is what's important for this team.
Yep. Yep. For sure. They did fill a big need at safety with McKinney, but we'll just see how it plays out with the draft, especially.
Yep.
Interesting to see what they do.
Yep. All right, so we get to the Vikings, which I think the Vikings are a pretty interesting team. Uh, so I think they're like it's clear as day. Like before they made the trade, even right in my head, I was like, okay, this team has to go quarterback. Like, there's no way you go into the season with Sam Darnold and Jaron Hall. So pretty clear that they're going quarterback. So
Yep.
if I look at their offense, right, I think like if your quarterback has the weapons that they have in terms of Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson, just hella sons, you have very good weapons to throw to. I think their offensive tackles are really good. I think the fact that they've done nothing about the interior of their line is a pretty bad thing, especially if you're going to play a young quarterback. Like I think the purpose of Sam Darnold might actually just be to take the sacks that are going to come because of the interior of that defensive line, right? Oh, sorry, the offensive line. So that's not really like that's not good. If I look at their running back position, right, Aaron Jones is awesome. Like again, awesome in terms of the fact that they got him. It's good that they didn't get him on a long-term deal. But bro, like he's obviously not going to be a part of this team actually being good. He's kind of just a stopgap. So I really want to see them draft a running back, draft a long-term replacement / somebody who could be a change of pace / somebody that might have to play because Aaron Jones gets hurt, because that's something you have to factor with running backs after their rookie deal. And for him, this is like his third deal too. So I can't really hate in terms of like where their rosters at offensively. Like they do have good weapons. They have two good offensive tackles. But my fear more is just that it looks like they're signaling to the world that they're going to trade up for a quarterback. And I think when you signal to the world what you're going to do, you give up your leverage. So I think they're going to get cooked in a trade. And if
Yep.
the trade lands them McCarthy, basically, if the trade lands them anybody other than Daniels or May, I think they're in trouble because they're gonna have a lack of draft capital going forward long term. I think they'll have a good team, but not a great team. And I just think it'll be the same old thing for Minnesota, right? Like they'll have, let's say they get Drake May, and let's say he's pretty good, right? You're gonna have a good team. But just the same thing will happen over like that's happened before. You're gonna have a good team and something's gonna happen in the playoffs, and that's just gonna be that. So not to say they're in a bad place as a team. I just feel like they're walking down a very familiar path. And you see what's about to happen. They're about to trade up for a quarterback. They're gonna be in those trade talks with zero leverage. They're probably gonna get fleeced. And look, me giving them Drake May is the best possible scenario. If they end up making that kind of a trade for McCarthy, my God, I think that's a disaster. I think that's a really, really
Bro,
bad move. Um,
it's gonna be awful. They already made it obviously clear with the trade with the Texans, and
yeah,
they're clearly trying to move up. And the that is potentially 5.
yeah,
Hard to move the Chargers out of there because, especially with their need at offensive tackle and receiver,
yeah,
especially since they got rid of Mike Williams and
yeah.
Keenan Allen. So I don't know how they're gonna trade up. Maybe with the Patriots, they think they could trade up. Like, and it's just a crapshoot for them. I
It
think
really is, man. It really is.
they were just kicking the can down the road with Cousins for a while, and they didn't get quarterback in previous years, and now Justin Jefferson, they wasted his rookie years, and he looks unhappy. And they got another receiver in Jordan Addison, and whoever they get into quarterback will have great weapons to throw to. But I mean, it depends if the quarterback is good or not. Because if it's McCarthy, bro, you can't convince me that guy is good. Like,
Also,
you
bro,
just can't.
if it's McCarthy, right? I don't think he can play for at least 1 year because
A
one, the
hundred
thing is
percent.
that Michigan offense is gonna. It's so different than what his NFL offense will look like. Like even from he's 21, so he's gonna be the youngest quarterback by far, right? So he's inexperienced, and then his experience is almost like in a way it's like less valuable because you weren't doing NFL shit at all. You did a lot of handing the ball off. I think I saw something like somebody was doing a breakdown about how one of the most like translatable throws from college to the pros is go routes to the far side of the field. So like if you're on the left hash, throwing a go ball to the right side, right? And they're talking about how CJ Stroud, that was like a money throw for him. And that's something that translated. And that's like a big part of what makes him a good prospect in terms of like feeling safe about him panning out in the NFL. I heard that JJ McCarthy attempted that pass like 4 times in college, right? Like that's just how the training wheels were on him in that offense. Like, bro, he's a tough evaluation. There's so little to actually evaluate. So, bro, it's a complete shot in the dark, I think, in terms of drafting a player. I think taking complete shots in the dark at 5 overall in the draft after trading up hella picks is dangerous. But that might be what Minnesota put. That might be the situation they put themselves in. The other thing I'll say though is just real quick before we move on. I thought their defense last year, like it wasn't good on paper, but Flores got the absolute max out of what they had. Um, I think the players they added are fine. Like I think they didn't add like shit guys like Van Ginkel, Cashman, and Greenard. You took players who all excelled last year in like in Houston's case, not on a stacked defense. In Van Ginkel's case, that whole defense got hurt. So like I think you probably added 3 good players, and I think your personnel is better. So your defense should be better. But again, it's just this sport is about the quarterback, and I'm pretty scared about what they're about to do at the quarterback position.
Bro, especially like the thing with McCarthy, right?
Yeah,
You said he didn't do a lot of NFL shit. Bro,
yeah,
he didn't do a lot of quarterback shit. He just
fair.
handed the ball off.
Yep,
Bro,
yep,
50% of his snaps, he just handed the ball off. Like, even though he played games, it's not good. It's not any experience because he's not throwing the ball. He's not seeing any coverages like that. Like,
yep.
bro, I pray they take McCarthy. Golly, I pray.
And that's the same way I feel about the Giants. Like if you have a team that's like in your division that wants to draft a quarterback, you're hoping that it's him.
I hope it
You're
is. I
hoping that
hope it
it's him.
is.
My
Have you
we'll get
seen this Twitter account Sears Tower?
nah. What's that?
It's apparently this insider, bro. He's got every scoop of the offseason, like spot on.
Sheesh.
Everything. So I've just been following him, and he says that the Vikings absolutely love McCarthy, and
Yeah, I
like they
wouldn't be
want him,
surprised.
and they saying like even if they somehow trade up to 3, they might even take him over Daniels because he is convinced the Commanders are going May,
Hmm. Damn. Bro, that'd be something else. That would be something else.
and then he thinks Daniels will fall to the Giants.
Yeah.
So that it would be interesting for sure.
Um, we'll keep it pushing to the Bucks. We'll see what happens with the Vikings. I thought the Bucks had a really, really strange offseason. Like they've spent a lot of money to keep like the main parts of the team together, but they didn't add to anything, and they lost like some pieces around the foundation. So like your Carlton Davis, who like he kind of fell off a little bit, but Shaq Barrett, Devin White, who got benched last year, but again, like you didn't lose important pieces, but you didn't gain anything. And you spent a lot of the reason you didn't gain anything is because you spent all your money keeping Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Antoine Winfield. You lost your offensive coordinator. Now, for what it's worth, I think they got a good offensive coordinator. But the point is like I just feel like a lot of money was spent to just keep them in the same place, right? And like, sure, you can win that division and host a playoff game, and maybe you get lucky and you can win the playoff game like they did last year, right? But bro, like, what are we doing? What is the vision here? What is the? You spent money in a way that's going to keep you from getting your quarterback. Do you think Baker's the guy? Like, I don't know. I just think this is a bizarre offseason. I don't see the vision. I don't get where they're going. And I'd love if there's a Bucks fan that could educate us about something like this because this is wild. But I don't know.
Sorry, whoa, I'm lagging a little bit.
All
Um,
good, all good.
yeah. So, bro, the Bucks. Listen, man. I've said this before. I'll say it again, bro. I'm not in the. Yeah, good for Baker. He got his money, but
Yeah.
bro, I'm not in the business of paying mediocre quarterbacks.
Yep.
It's just it never works out in the long run. Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones. The list
Geno
just goes
Smith.
on and on and on. Geno Smith. Like to win in this league, you need a great quarterback. Like there hasn't been many examples apart from maybe Nick Foles and whoever the Ravens won with in that crazy defense.
Yeah.
Like for the past 20 years, like mediocre or bad quarterbacks, like or even good quarterbacks don't win. Great ones do.
Yeah.
So they're just kicking the can down the road with getting Baker and paying Baker. It is what it is. They keep Mike Evans and they're just gonna be mediocre again. So it's just uninspiring and quite frankly irrelevant because they just probably make it to the wild card, maybe not lose in the first or second round, and then yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah. Again, like I don't get it, but whatever. We'll move on. We'll go to the Falcons. I think this whole division, oddly enough, like has a lot of similar, like the same stuff going on. So before we talk about the players, like I think it's worth talking about the coaching because I think the coach they hired is going to be good for the defense in terms of like the defense being good, or being well coached. I don't know how great of a coach he's going to be, but whatever. I think the offensive coordinator they hired is a bright young like
Yep.
prospect as a coach. I think that'll probably turn out to be good for them. There's a chance it's not. There's a chance he flops, but I feel pretty good about again the play like for example like the play calling on both sides of the ball. I think it'll be good, right? But in terms of how good the coach is, I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. I don't really feel confident either. So I'm not like my whole yeah, I don't like it. So then you look at the team, right? And you think maybe they're gonna make moves for the team that make you feel better. And I think they oddly like Mooney, he tore his he had the major injury how long ago? Like you'd say what?
2022 week
So like
8.
about a year and a half ago?
Yep.
Like literally a year and a half ago, right? Kirk got hurt about half a year ago. Bro, they paid guys that had major injuries in the last 18 months. So much money. But they paid Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney so much money, right?
Bro.
Bro, they got Rondell Moore from Arizona, right? Rondell Moore was in the offense that would suit him the best, and it didn't work out. And I don't even hate Rondell Moore. I just am concerned when you don't work out in situations that are like well catered to you. Not in terms of quarterback play, but like in terms of the kind of offense that he walked into. I bro, I don't know. Like I understand that Kirk Cousins has long been talked about as somebody who the Niners really want because he really suits the whole like Shanahan McVay thing that the league is really obsessed with right now, right? He obviously started off in Shanahan's offense. Um that I think Kirk Cousins was on the team when Washington had McVay and Shanahan, but it's like bro, he's old as hell. The resume is stacked in terms of just like you know who he is. You know, like it's stacked with the same stuff. Like he's consistently who he is. He's hurt. I don't get it. Like I don't get this division, right? One team is locked into Baker, one team is locked into Derek Carr. This team's now locked into Kirk Cousins. Like what are these guys doing? Um I don't really understand it. I don't bro, like Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan, I think those players are awesome. And I just think that like Arthur Smith was a terrorist that held them back. Now I think they're gonna have another big thing that holds them back. It's gonna be the quarterback position. I don't think he's gonna hold them back from having
Mm-hmm.
numbers. Unlike Arthur Smith, he's not gonna hold them back from having numbers, but he's gonna hold their careers back in a different way in terms of the team's not actually gonna be good. Like
Yep.
defensively again, I like the coach that they have, but is he gonna make up for the fact that they didn't add anything defensively? Like they were cool defensively last year. They needed to get better though. I think they're probably gonna get a good edge rusher at the top of the first round, but like nah man, this team again, they put all their resources into trapping themselves in mediocrity with Kirk Cousins. And again, as with other teams in this division, I just don't understand at all.
Bro, it's just, it's with such great young pieces in Pitts, London, and Bijan. You pair them up with fucking Kirk Cousins, bro.
Fucking
It's like
Kirk Cousins.
it is what it is. Like they deserve everything they're gonna get. Like just pure
Yep.
mediocrity. They deserve
Oh yeah.
all of it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
That's
like,
all I have to say about this team.
bro, I don't have a like, and we're gonna move on to, you know what? I think the Panthers are supposed to come before the Saints, but let's just do the Saints real quick because like it's the same shit. Like
Bro.
Bucks, Falcons, Saints, they had remixed versions of the same offseason, right? This team had, I think they started out free agency with like 80%, like they were 80 mil over the cap. They had to do hella restructures to get back down. They signed Willie Gay, which is cool, but like not going to move the needle at all with your team. They just signed Chase Young today. So again, good piece, but why are you giving a guy 13 mil when you're in cap hell the way they are? What are you going to do with Derek Carr? Like Alvin Kamara gets 1 year older. It's just a mess, bro. This division is a mess.
Bro, it's like they just like I'm lost for words, bro. The Saints, like they're actually the definition of mediocrity because
Yeah.
every year, bro, we just hear, oh, they're in cap hell, they're in cap hell. They release a couple players and then they just get on with it. Bro,
Yo,
it's like they never want to do anything and they signed Derek Carr. Another just like mediocrity is just they're the magnet for it. And now they're getting Chase Young, who is literally mid again.
yeah.
Show some flashes. He's either really good or really bad.
Yeah.
And most of the time mid. Like
Yep.
nothing else to say that. And that whole division really, it's just so bad. Such a bad division.
Yeah. And like you're stuck with the same coaching staff. It's just rough. It's rough, bro. We can move past this. We can go to the Panthers, who I think, the Panthers. Um, I think,
One thing I'll say
yeah,
real quick before we move on.
yeah,
The Saints and the Falcons do not deserve those stadiums. Those are
that's
two of
true.
the coolest stadiums in the NFL.
Yeah,
And bro, they don't deserve that stadium. Like that stadium is so dope.
They
I
don't do
wish
them
we had that
justice.
stadium. Bro.
They don't. They
They
don't do
really
them
don't.
justice at all.
They
Um.
really don't.
So, all right. So here's the thing about the Panthers, right? I think the main storyline going into the offseason was, bro, we just had one of the worst off seasons and seasons ever. A change has to happen, right? So they fired everybody, I'm pretty sure, and they brought in a whole new set of people. And my big concern is, yo, I feel like they're having a pretty similar offseason, right? Like last year, they brought in Adam Thielen, and who was the other guy they brought in?
Andy Dalton.
No, DJ Chark. So like,
Oh yeah, DJ
so
Chark.
DJ Chark. And remember, my whole thing was like, yo, Chark is hella injury prone. Adam Thielen is Adam Thielen. He's washed. Like, why are you making receiver moves that are so predictable? And the fact that like these guys aren't actually going to be there to help your quarterback the way you think they are, right? Then they trade for Deontay Johnson, and they are, I think, meeting with Mike Williams. Yo, if they sign Mike Williams, that's DJ Chark all over again, right? Not that they're the same
Yep.
player, but it's the same shit. They're both just gonna miss time, right? Deontay Johnson. I don't think it's ever a good thing when Pittsburgh gives up on a receiver. That's just like, I think that
Bro.
organization is so good at the receiver position. AB is the only outlier, and even they were right about him in terms of the fact that like even though he was still good on the football field, bro, they don't. There's too good at the receiver position. I like Deontay Johnson. I just feel like if Pittsburgh gives a receiver away, they do it for a reason. So I don't think Deontay Johnson's gonna like the same way I was pretty sure that Thielen and Chark weren't gonna help their quarterback the way they thought they were going to. I'm pretty certain that Deontay and potentially Mike Williams will not help their quarterback the way they think they are, right? You ball out for two guards, and I had like those are fine players, right? But they're not going to live up to their price tags. They're not going to impact
100%.
your roster in a way that makes you feel good about the money you spent, right? I think the linebacker they signed is a downgrade from Louisville, the linebacker that they let go to Washington, right? You
Mhm.
lost Brian Burns for draft picks that are a lot worse than the two firsts you turned down. Ashawn Robinson should be signing for a contender. Like he is a steady run stuffer that should be like a backup on like a Super Bowl contender. Why is he a starter on the Panthers, right? It's bad, bro. This is bad. And like I again, like I think their coach is cool in terms of an offensive play caller. I actually really respect him. I don't know if he's going
Yep.
to be a good head coach, but I think he's probably going to be better in terms of play calling. But bro, this has been a disaster, and I'm so scared. Like this just seems like, oh, you guys had a different version of last year's offseason, which was supposed to be the thing you were trying to run far away from.
100%. And the thing is, they just needed people to get open for Bryce and him for him to have time.
Yeah,
And they've hypothetically given him time with getting better offensive linemen,
yeah,
but you still haven't given him people that get open. Like
yep,
I get Deontay Johnson can separate. Okay, cool. But other than that, who do you have? Jonathan Mingo you got last year. He wasn't good in the second round. Terrence Marshall the year before that, he's not good. Adam Thielen's old. Are you gonna go for the third year in a row, and
yeah,
draft another receiver in the second round?
yep.
Like, it's just I don't know, man. These guys like that whole Bryce Young trade, like it just set him back, bro.
Yo, and you know what it is
Decades.
too? It doesn't matter. Like Bryce Young, it doesn't really matter what he does because even if he's good, right, he's probably gonna have a hard time with the fact that they traded as much as they did for him, and the fact that he's always going to be compared to CJ Stroud, right? His whole career, he's going to be compared to CJ Stroud and Caleb Williams because those are the quarterbacks that one was passed up for him and the other one was literally traded for him. So like, it's
Yep.
not like you're fighting an uphill battle before you even step onto a football field. And it's bad, bro. It's so bad. Um, like again, Deontay, I like him as a player. I'm just weary of when Pittsburgh lets go of a receiver. So that's my thing, man. I have a feeling this offseason could also be really bad, right? And my thing is like I don't know much about Dan Morgan, but I found out recently that he was actually in the Panthers organization last year. So they fired a guy, they hired a guy that was already there. Did he disagree with everything last year? Like that was my first thought. Is like, did you hire like if he agreed with everything that happened last year, he's liable to do similar stuff. And what do you know? I think he's doing similar stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it's it's real bad. It's real bad. We're done with that division. We're gonna keep it pushing to the next division. I guess we can start out with the Cardinals. Um, let's now Command F. Oh yeah. So this is the team that I think they got in yo, Justin Jones. How good would you say he is at football out of 10?
Three,
All right,
two and a
cool.
half.
Mac Wilson, yo, like
Mid.
probably 4, right? Sean Murphy Bunting, what, like maybe 5 or 6,
Yeah, 5 or 6.
right? Jonah Williams, very injury prone. Hypothetically, maybe 6 or 7, right?
6 or 7. Yep. Steady Eddie.
Desmond Ritter, probably a cool 0.5, right?
Too nice.
All right, so here you go, bro. I was so shook because I actually thought like their offseason looked competent last year. Even though they didn't add good players, I felt like the direction that the organization was taking, I liked the trade back. I liked going for like a left tackle in the draft. It looked like their organization was smart. But I think what I learned is that like, sometimes you can get step one right, but there's no indication that that means you understand what step 2 and step 3 and step 4 are. And I think last year they actually had a good offseason. But bro, this has been a disaster so far. And this is too slow. You have Kyler, so you have your quarterback. You don't have to patiently rebuild slowly. You can be the kind of team that gets good really quickly. They had the potential to do so. And they just had a shocking offseason, man. This is a crazy waste of time. And I
Yep.
can't believe they're doing this to Kyler.
It's just gonna be Marvin Harrison Jr. and inshallah. That's it.
Yep.
That's their season next year.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And like, who did they keep? Let me see real quick. Like their wide receiving core. What did they have? What did they? Because I know they lost Rondale and Marquise. So whoa, bro, Michael Wilson is gonna be their wide receiver too. Yo,
Yep.
this is terrible stuff, bro. I mean, here's the thing. It's not a good running back draft. You're rolling with James Conner again, and they signed DJ Dallas. That's another guy, bro. 2 out of 10.
Yep.
So they just signed a bunch. They brought in a bunch of guys. Bilal Nichols, another one. They brought in a bunch of limited football players to a team that seemed like it was decently coached, but it's not good. So it's just like, I don't know, dangerous games to play, bro. You got guys who have job security right now. Take a chance, because if you trick off this year, you're gonna have a lot less job security. There's gonna be a lot more pressure. They look like a team that's just gonna waste a year.
Yep. That's it. That is them.
That's it, bro. That's all you can really say about that. That's a crazy use of resources. We're gonna move on to the Niners. This is a team that inevitably, when you go to a Super Bowl, regardless of whether you win or lose, you're gonna have a hard time keeping your team together. Um, and I think for what it's worth, I think the Niners have done a good job. But here's my thing with the Niners, right? If you look at their personnel, and I'll find them here. Where are they? Like, if you look at their personnel, right? Offensively, they're basically like, I think they're literally the same team as last year. I'm looking at their offensive line. They kept everybody together. Yeah, there's literally the same starters from last year. Defensively, okay, they lost Eric Armstead, who I don't think they replaced. Malik Collins is good, but they didn't replace Armstead. And then Leonard Floyd, I think, will be probably better than Chase Young, but like not worlds better.
Yep.
So you got one downgrade and one upgrade. Bro, we're gonna see what happens with Dre Greenlaw, but if he doesn't look healthy next year, I think they've downgraded him as well, regardless of whether Devondre Campbell has to play or hurt Dre Greenlaw plays. So that's completely about his health. In the secondary, I think they're fine. I think they're good in the secondary. Hufanga is obviously pretty good, and he was out for the second half of last year. Jair Brown, played a lot and he wasn't a liability, so he'll be fine. The secondary is fine. The front seven, I think, downgraded as a whole. But defensively, the big point for me is the coach, right? So they went from uh Salah to D'Amico to Steve Wilkes. That's a crazy run of back to back to back defensive coordinators. Like those are all high level coaches. Um, and then they went to some guy named Nick Sorensen, I think. I think that's his name. Yeah, I looked him up the other day. But I don't know who this guy is, right? I'm looking at his history. He was on the Niners staff for the last couple of years. Then Jacksonville, Seattle, and then like he was a special teams coach for a while. So they have this random guy running their defense, and I think that might be the downgrade that hurts them the most. So I think there's a lot of weight on his shoulders. That team got to a Super Bowl last year. He's gonna have a lot. It's a high standard to live up to. It looks like his first job. And my thing is like the Eagles kind of were in this position last year where we gave coaches their first jobs, right? Sean Desai, not his first time being a defensive coordinator, but it was only his second time. Like it was only his second year as a DC. Brian Johnson, first year as a DC. Both those guys were highly respected coaches in NFL circles. But bro, there's too much pressure, there's too much expectation for somebody who has so little experience. And that's just my issue with San Fran. Like, I don't think there's any reason to give a guy a first opportunity when you're this good, but they're going to do that, right? So all eyes are on the coach and all eyes are on the personnel that's going to have to replace guys like Armstead and Greenlaw. Um, that's my thing. Defensively and then offensively, like I can't sit here and act like they're a bad offense or like they have issues or whatever. It's just again, I have a thing in the NFL about I think it's tough to be the same team that you were last year again in the future because look at the Patriots and the Chiefs, right? Those are the two examples of sustained success that we've seen, right? This is sustained success to the highest level. But if you look at the Chiefs' first Super Bowl compared to 2 and 3, bro, very different teams. And if you look at the Patriots Super Bowls, they won. They had so many different players walk through those doors, bro. They were very different teams at different points. So again, like I have to like wonder if the most consistently good teams I've ever seen always kind of switched it up. I think there's something to be said for the fact that it's tough to be the same team back in back-to-back years. NFL coaches, it doesn't it's not that everybody has to find the key to success against you. It's just one or two guys. One or two guys that spend the whole offseason studying what you did, studying your players, studying their weaknesses. It just takes one or two guys at some point to find out some flaws. They put them on tape at some point, and then you're in trouble. And when it comes down to you having to respond to what teams have come up to deal with you don't have new players to throw at them, right? You don't have some random guys on the practice squad you can call on because those players aren't very good in the NFL. You have what you have, which are pieces that the whole league has studied. You have nothing new you can throw at other teams. So my fear for them on the offense is that they look like they're going to be the exact same team. And then my fear for them on defense is the drop off in coaching. But as is, bro, very good team. They're probably going to be very good next year. But there are things that you need to watch for next year.
You want to know something funny?
What's that?
I heard and saw reports that apparently teams have been calling about Ayuk.
Oh, I'm not surprised because I don't think they can pay him.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they can pay him because if you look at their books, right? Yeah, they're not paying Purdy, but bro, that's coming next offseason. Next offseason will be year 3. He's a player who only has 4 years on his contract. They're going to be paying Brock Purdy a good amount of money next year because assume the Niners win a bunch of games again this year. That guy's record is going to be really, really good. His numbers are going to be pretty good. Like he's going to get paid a lot of money, right? They're paying McCaffrey a ton of money. They're paying Debo good money. They're paying Kittle good money. They're paying Trent Williams good money. They're paying Bosa good money. They're paying Hargrave good money. They have a lot of big contracts. Fred Warner, like, yeah.
Tre'Davious Ward.
Bro, yes. If they want to pay Ayuk, they have to come up off one of their other contracts. So if they feel like Ayuk is the most flippable piece in terms of you could get a really good pick and then reinvest, that's probably the move that they would make.
Apparently, the Jags called them, and the San Francisco 49ers wanted their first round pick, which is I think 17,
Damn.
and Zay Jones, and I think they said no to that.
The Jags need him pretty badly. We'll talk. We'll actually probably touch on that tomorrow. But yeah, bro, I don't know, bro. It's tough. It's tough to keep your roster intact in the NFL. I think Ayuk is pretty good. I think Ayuk adds stuff to that offense that Debo can't. So if they were to lose
Yep.
Ayuk, they would actually they would have to replace him. There's really no choice. I don't think you can shuffle the deck and add a different kind of a piece. I think you would have to specifically add somebody that does what Ayuk does. Um,
100%.
Yeah, that's my thing with the Niners. You got anything to add before we move on to the Rams?
Nah,
All
no,
right,
no.
so Rams. Uh, let me pull up their additions and losses. Obviously, Aaron Donald, bro. Like, there's nothing you can do about losing him.
Of course.
Nothing you can do about losing him. In terms of what they've, in terms of what they've added, yeah, okay, this sounds about right. Because I'm looking at their pieces, right? This blue here means new players. So they've added a guard, which is good, right? They've added a backup tight end. I think that's really pointless. They added a corner that they cut a while back, and they added Cameron Curl. I think Cameron Curl is a good safety. But bro, this team, like again, they look like another team that's set to build through the draft. I think in a lot of ways, like obviously they're living in the aftermath of trading a lot of their picks for veteran players. They were really, really young last year. I thought they were going to be bad. They ended up being a playoff team, right?
Yep.
So I think they're probably doubling down on the idea that hey, we got a really good batch of young players. We might get another good batch of young players, and then a couple years down the road, we might be really good. Now I think that's a tough approach to take in terms of roster building at the quarterback position because yeah, this roster and Matthew Stafford will probably keep you away from being able to get a good quarterback in the draft. But it is what it is. I guess they're willing to play that game, and I think if you're gonna look at their quarterback play in the McVay era, it's not the toughest thing in the world to replace Goff and Stafford. Now, obviously, as fans, I think we look at it like there's a higher standard of quarterbacks to get. But if McVay is comfortable with Jared Goff's and Matt Stafford's, then he could find that in the 20s in the draft. So it is what it is. I think they're following with the vision that they had last offseason. I think their roster is decent um, in terms of like they're going to add young players. They already have young players that made the playoffs in the NFC, albeit, but yeah, nothing much changes for them. Like Puka is going to, the thing about Puka, right? So I'll just real quick before I toss it over to Murtaza. Yo, so Puka went in the fifth round because his medicals were terrible, right? I don't think people actually didn't know that Puka was good. I just think like his medicals apparently were that bad. So the thing about a player like Puka is every year that passes, it's like more years than other players. I don't expect Puka to be good in year 8, right? So you don't have that much time with him. You don't have that much time with Cooper Cup. But it is what it is, bro. They're playing this super safe. They're playing it very patient, and we'll see if it pans out.
100%. I think they have good young talent on both offense and defense. I think they hit with both their third round defensive picks in Kobe Turner and Byron Young.
Yeah,
And, it's just, I think they just got to strengthen their secondary and shore up that offensive line, and they could just roll from there because we have seen you can win with Matthew Stafford.
yeah,
He is a really good quarterback, and his quarterback play was really good last year.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep both Cup and Puka healthy. I think that offense will be really good,
Oh yeah,
especially with Kyron Williams as well. It's just whatever they can add to the defense through the draft,
yeah,
and if they'll have to replace Aaron Donald, I mean, he is technically irreplaceable
yep,
because of how good he is, but you just had to try and fill all the holes
yeah.
necessary, and they'll be really competitive for sure.
Yeah, I think Kobe Turner is good too, but just bro, you need like three more of him. Like
Yeah,
it's
three,
it's
four
not
more
it's not
for
an
real.
easy thing. But
I think
that
their
leads
secondary more than anything needs help.
yeah, because I think basically they're putting together the same secondary in terms of like talent, right? Because Cam Curl is good. Like he's a nice piece to add, but he's not like a superstar or anything. Darius Williams at best is a steady vet. But yeah, I think the safety Russ East and Durant they played a lot last year. I think Darian Kendrick played a lot, but he struggled a little bit. Um, it really looks like they're banking on these young draft picks to get better. And we'll see if it happens. Obviously, they lost their defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, right?
Yep. And
So
the
that's another thing
offensive
to
coordinator,
yeah,
I
that's another
think.
thing to factor. Are they going to be able to replace him?
100%, 100%. Raheem Morris is
Um,
really good.
and on we go to Seattle, the last team for today. Um, I think if you look at what Seattle's done, they've kind of they've defensively like patched up some parts of the defense that weren't that good last year. So last year they had Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks. Bobby Wagner is good, but Jordan Brooks didn't really. He's a first round pick. He never really lived up to it. You got Dodson and Baker who are solid. So it's like you have two solid linebackers as opposed to last year when you had one good one and one bad one. So marginal upgrade there. Quandre Diggs dropped off last year at safety. You got Rayshon Jenkins who like solid at best. So it's like you steadied some parts of your defense that fell off last year, but you didn't really make any moves that changed things seriously. I like their pieces in terms of I like the interior of their defensive line with Leonard Williams and Draymond Jones. I actually like their edge rushers with Nwosu and Mafe. Their linebackers again, they could probably draft somebody to get better. The secondary, I think they have like obvious strong points with Witherspoon and Woolen, but I think the rest of it is just okay. And I think the rest of the secondary being just okay is going to hold back the other players from really having great impact. But yeah, I think a lot of people were disappointed with this defense last year. They obviously are going to have a new voice from a coaching standpoint. Mike McDonald did a great job with the Ravens, but I don't think he has the pieces here to replicate what he did entirely with Baltimore. I think in Baltimore, I think it is pretty clear that he had a great safety in Kyle Hamilton, and he had a great front seven with great linebackers. And
Yep.
I don't really think he has the same thing here because he has at best average safeties, so you can't even come close to what he had with Kyle Hamilton, and he's gonna have average linebackers, which don't even come close to Roquan and Patrick Queen, right? So this defense, I think it lacks the pieces. That might make him not look good early on. Offensively, who is their offensive coordinator? I forget. Seahawks
Um.
offensive coordinator. Oh, they got the Washington guy. Yo, this is the guy that ran University of Washington's offense last year.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
bro. So that's the thing, right?
Penix.
They got a local guy who ran Penix's offense, and if you think about it, right, this kind of offense is gonna suit this receiving core really well, right? Metcalf, Lockett, and JSN. Um,
Yep.
so the thing is like that OC has the skill position players. He doesn't have the quarterback though. So if he could get Penix in this draft, I think that would be so cool. But that's the one I'm watching for. I'm looking to see what he can do. I think the thing about this offensive line is I think they have tackles. The tackles were hurt last year. They have tackles. I don't like what they have in the interior, and they lost one guy to the Panthers who cashed him out. So um, it's interesting. Again, like the middle of your line being bad is really bad for the quarterback. The quarterback itself isn't good. Oh yeah, they traded for Howell. Shit. Oh, I just realized that
Yep.
they're probably not going to take Penix. See, this is the thing. I think the weapons and the OC are going to get wasted by quarterback play. So it's just like, bro, it's one of those things, right? Like the personnel might make both sides of the ball average.
Yeah, man. It would have been really cool if they got Penix because, bro, he is just a gunslinger, and with those weapons, it would have been just
with
Fun to
his
see,
OC and these weapons.
bro. Yeah, I think, bro, Allen Smith. Like, I don't think you could spell mediocrity in a much different way with
Yo,
those
I
two. Like,
totally forgot they traded for Howell because in my head, the whole offseason, it was just Gino. And I'm like, okay. They're going to have to figure a backup out. Maybe they're going to see whether they can draft somebody. But they didn't even trade nothing for Howell either, right? Like, so Howell is
yep,
definitely part of their plans. So is Gino.
it was a
Yo, it's
third round
crazy.
pick.
Yo, it's crazy because if you look at it, right, the strengths of McDonald's defenses in Baltimore, he won't have that in Seattle. He'll have average players there. The strength of obviously the University of Washington's offense, like it was receivers, yes, but it was also the quarterback. Their quarterback balled out. And he's going to be average there. Like what Seattle's problem is they're average in places that I think are really important for their team. Like they're not an average team. They have a lot of good players, but I think they're average in the wrong places, and that's gonna hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
But bro,
Agreed.
this team to me looks like year two. Like not this year, but if they get it right next year, they might be good. Because
Agreed.
yo, they just have to they have to have a good draft defensively, but offensively they just need Gino and Sam Howell to fail. They need that part to fail miserably, and they need to next year. Obviously, they're not going to be able to get Shadur, but I don't know. We'll see what quarterbacks are available. Yo, maybe if Fields is a free agent and Pittsburgh can't get a deal done, like this might be a good spot.
Yo,
It would have
just
to be
slinging
something like
it.
that, bro. But if they
Yeah.
have a bad year at the quarterback position, that's probably what's going to be best for them.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. For sure. For sure.
Um, so we're gonna wrap up with that, people. I want to do the AFC tomorrow. We'll see if Taza is available, but this is what we're doing. We're gonna start off with this. We're gonna get deeper into the draft world after that. But yeah, man, this has been fun. Anybody who's watching this after the fact, feel free to get any of your feedback in the comments. We'd love to hear what you agree with, what you don't agree with. Um, we'd love to hear what people's favorite teams are. But yeah, man, keep supporting the content. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps the cause. It helps push the content out to other people. And that helps the channel grow bigger. So stay
Facts.
tapped in with us. We will be back. Take it easy, people.
See ya.